creating wealth, freedom, and security using real estate investing. This is Get Real Wealthy.
Now, let's talk about the buy, renovate, refinance, and rent process. This is something that I've used personally for over a decade. I've used it on small starter homes. I've used it on large 40, 50 unit apartment buildings. The process is the same, the timeline is a little different, and the scope of what you are doing with capital expenses can be very, very different. But let's go through the process, and we'll talk about it from a high level, and I'll give you some personal history around this. So I got involved with the strategy after 2008. In 2008, I was able to buy properties with 100% financing. Yes, rental properties, 100% financing, and usually as many as you wanted. That time has all gone away. And by the way, those properties still cash flowed at 100% financed. Now those properties cash flow like you wouldn't believe. But back then it was a little bit of a challenge getting your mind around what was available. Anyways, that had gone away, and we had gone back to 20% down. So I was just trying to figure out a way to make it work better so that I could get a larger yield on my money. And how I really got involved in real estate was taking a line of credit out on our principal residence. That's how I started. We put about $5,000 into the portfolio altogether. Since we started all of this, it's all been refinances and rolling that into new projects, and taking on different partners on different projects, and et cetera, et cetera. But at that time, I was trying to figure out how I could still take advantage of having a low down payment into my projects, as well as get better yield and have cash flow. And so what I had figured out was that if I bought a property that needed work, I could get the work done, refinance it to the after repaired value, and as long as that after repair value cash flowed well, I could continue to hold that asset. And the better that I ended up doing it, the more I was able to take out of the project and have none of my own money into it. So I started to do that with condo townhouses. It worked really well. On a home run, I would get all my funds out of it. On ones that weren't as successful, I'd get maybe 10% of the down payment back, so I would have 10% left in it. Sometimes I would have only 5% left in it, so it just depends on what the project was. It was really helpful to me because it helped me to build relationships with potential partners. They got really great returns because they were invested in something where the business plan was to refinance that asset. And I still have people that I worked with 10 years ago today who are involved in a lot of my other projects that I do, specifically on the larger apartment buildings, but again, using the same strategy. And if I were to go back, I would have done a lot more of the projects that I had passed over because I felt like they were singles or doubles. Maybe I got like 2% or 3% or 4% of my money back and still had 15% left in the project. It would have still cash flowed quite well, but I felt that wasn't the type of deal that I wanted to do. I just wanted to do the doubles or the triples and the home runs. And so, that was an interesting process. If I were to go back, I would definitely do more of the singles and doubles for sure. And it led me to seek out other people who were doing the strategy. So I met two great friends of mine, Andrew Brennan and Jeff Woods. I found Andrew, his article was written in a magazine on real estate that I subscribed to. I reached out to him, and we've been friends ever since. And Jeff Woods, I can't remember how exactly I connected with him, but he was using the same strategy as well. And we ended up coming together and writing a book together, which was pretty awesome, The Ultimate Wealth Strategy, which is on buying, fixing, refinancing, and renting real estate. Back then, we called it the BRRR strategy. It was rebranded years later to buy, renovate, refinance, and rent, the BRRR strategy. But people have been using the same strategy for decades. Well before, I thought I had come up with something new. It was not new. It had been done for decades before. And, it really is just a great way for you to get yield on an asset that in an area where it makes the most sense, and you can cash flow on the asset. In our area, we have a lot of rent controls in Ontario, Canada. We don't have as much of a cycle when it comes to rents. We do have some areas where rents drop, but it's just not as significant as any other jurisdiction where the rent floats. You also have not as much rent bumps up, right? Because you can only really turn over or increase rents on the actual turnover of a tenant. Now, that also means that there's a lot less supply. There aren't people who build as many rental units because of that, and there aren't as many existing rental units because of that. So there is definitely a supply constraint when it comes to existing property, and most of the, I would say like more than 80% of the rental properties were built before 1980. That gives you a good sense of what's happened in this market and some of the connections to it. So when you're able to find and use the strategy of buy, renovate, refinance, and rent, and cash flow positive on an asset in an appreciating market, where it is typically considered an appreciation market versus a cash flow market, you can do extremely well. So that's why I focused on that strategy. And over the next few episodes, I am going to give you a little bit of a deep dive into each of the sections of buy, renovate, refinance, and talk about renting. And it'll give you a little bit of an insight as to why it makes sense. I'll give you some tips. So keep an eye out for the next few episodes where I'm going to go take a little deep dive into each of those areas and hopefully give you some ways to apply that into whatever it is you're investing in. Again, thank you for listening. Make sure that you check out the show notes. I've got a link to the book, The Ultimate Wealth Strategy, so you can pick that up. And make sure that you share this channel with 2 friends. If you liked all the stuff that I've been sharing, make sure to share with others. And we'll see you on the next episode.
Make sure to check out getrealwealthy.com.
Until next time, I'm Quentin D'Souza. Get out there and take action.
The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are provided for information purposes only and should not be construed as an offer to buy or sell any securities or to make or consider any investment or course of action. For more information, go to getrealwealthy.com.